Coming up around the nation, Bowie State wins the CIAA Football Championship for the third consecutive time. Jackson State clinches this SWAC East and then behaves as a bunch of, quote, idiots, end quote. And changes come on the sidelines to Grambling State on the verge of the Bayou Classic. The buses are gassed up and we're ready to roll. Hit the road on the HBCU Sports Nation. And we're coming at you now.
1, 2, 3, hit it! Black out and move. Ride, come on! Black College, stand up! HBCU!
And what's the deal, folks? Welcome as we take you around the HBCU Sports Nation for another week. It's your boy, Mark Gray. Remember, follow me, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and, of course, TikTok, but you won't see me twerking at The Sports Groove. Chances are these days I try to twerk, I'll do something to myself, but that's a topic for another conversation. Anyhow, you know, you get to the point in the season where it's about who wants it. Everybody's tired, there's gas, but there was championships on the line in the SIAC and the CIAA, and there was one clinched in the SWAC East Division as well. Wholesale changes on the west side, which may render the mother of all classics, well, just something to watch or listen to come Thanksgiving weekend. But we got a lot to get to in a little bit of time. Let's take you inside the highlight zone. Bowie State marched into Salem Stadium looking to make history. Fayetteville State looked to bring back memories of the past at the 2021 CIAA Football Championship, but it was the poise of the champs which was big. Early in the first quarter, Bowie State takes the lead for good. Kawan Rodner takes a touchdown pass. It would stay that way till the third quarter as Braxton Knox connects with Kari Lane, a 26-yard beautifully thrown ball, and the lead is cut in half. 14-7 to count. Then Bowie State with the clincher from 33 yards out, making it 17-7.
One thing that we always talk about is having a reference point. We had a reference point. You understand? I think this is my 6th championship that I've been the head coach to participate in. And I lost 3 of them before I won one. So just to have an opportunity to be here 6 different times and learn as a head coach things I should do and shouldn't do, and then also disseminate that information down to my players and show them that we trust them and they're making right decisions and that sort of thing. I mean, it says a lot about our ball club, and I think it shows some growth with us as coaches.
Clyde Dowdy, now the athletic director of a 4-time champion CIAA football program. I grew up in the area, okay? I never thought I would see one. This is 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
This is more than just setting a standard. What is this?
It's hard work and determination. We have been really diligent about how we go about doing our business, recruiting good student athletes, making sure that they're prepared in the classroom, and that carries over to the athletic field. So, Coach, winning breeds success, and folks are starting to recognize Bowie's success as a leader, all because of Coach Will and his fine staff. Our offensive coordinator, our defensive coordinator have done an outstanding job with their units, and as a football team, all of these parts have to come together for success, and that's what we do. Wins alone don't make success. It's a total package that does that. Out on the field, off the field, in the classroom, and in the community. And Bowie State football is doing that just now.
Talk about Bowie State now as a destination for prospective student athletes as opposed to them sort of falling into it as they once did.
Well, we have student athletes who are now recognizing, as you said, destination want to be at Bowie State. We've improved our infrastructure, great deal, and we continue to improve our infrastructure. So those folks look to say that I can spend 4 years here playing football because of what we are doing with our football program. Not only a destination for student athletes, become a destination for students, period. And as you can see by the crowd here today, folks came up here or down here to Salem to support. That whole feeling is being grown by Dr. Bro. So our community is coming together. We just come off a great Middle States accreditation, which we are very happy about. So all those things make Bowie State, Bowie Bold, and Bulldog strong.
We would assume that with you being #1 in the region, a top 10 program in all of Division II, that you should be hosting a playoff game. What would that mean to have another opportunity to host a national championship playoff game on campus to bring some more shine to your program, if you will?
It would be an outstanding opportunity to market, to show what Bowie State University is all about, just not for the football program, but the entire community as we come together to celebrate something of this magnitude. We hosted 2 years ago, and it was a phenomenal opportunity for us, and we're looking forward to it. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock, when they make those announcements by the NCAA or the selection committee, we look forward to saying that Bowie State University is going to host the first round.
Congratulations, and big picture, you've got 2 nationally ranked CIAA football programs, known as a basketball conference, but when you're doing that, is that paradigm shifting or equaling? How do you see that playing out?
I think that we're leveling out the playing field. I think that football now is finding its place in the CIAA. You know, back in the day, football was a big deal, and the basketball tournament kind of overshadows that. But I think as we continue to grow and folks like Breon work and build a championship environment like we have here, working with the folks in Salem or wherever we decide to host, it'll bring the level up and people will recognize that this is a quality experience for them.
See how this man dresses? He is the face of hosting the basketball tournament. He already got his basketball shine on. Look, from top to bottom, Baltimore is going to be lit for the CIAA basketball tournament, and Bowie State will be hosting it. Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you,
Best of luck
Mark.
in the tournament.
We'll see you. Thanks for all you do, Mark.
Hey, thanks a lot. We'll see you with more around the HBCU Sports Nation in a minute.
1, 2, 3, hit it. Black out and move. Ride, come on. Black college, stand up. HBCU.
We continue as we count down to the kickoff of the granddaddy of all HBCU classics, the Bayou Classic. The Grambling Tigers will have a new interim coach on the sidelines, and there are those who are expecting that following that game, there could be a new man leading the Southern Jaguars as well, to make some sense of all things going on inside the battle of Louisiana is my man, Reggie Flood, who joins us right now from the Jaguar Journal on WBOK AM in New Orleans. Reg, thanks for hanging out with us. What's the deal?
Oh man, it's all good. But it's the sports report in New Orleans. It's the Jaguar Journal in Baton Rouge. Different, same guy, different shows.
Yeah, see what I mean? I'm saying you got so many jobs, it's hard to keep up with you.
Just trying to get it in.
Let's
Trying to
start
be like
with
you.
the whole notion of 2 teams normally coming into a game that are going to be playing for a spot representing in the SWAC championship game, both Grambling and Southern having lean years. Grambling having forced now Broderick Fobbs out. Did you see that coming? Did you see Coach Fobbs on the hot seat going into the season?
Yes, yes. For those who are not necessarily Grambling people or Grambling fans or Coach Fobb or attached to Coach Fobb, you could kind of see it coming. Earlier in the year after the spring, and they didn't win any games in the spring. They really didn't look like the same Grambling team. They kind of struggled the year before that, but they were okay. But that spring, you could really see they weren't the same Grambling team. People wanted to see what they would look like in the fall. Early in the fall, they looked okay, but they couldn't score. They struggled on offense, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And by the end of the season, all reports were that the team had kind of checked out on Coach Fobbs, and so you could see it coming. That doesn't mean that Coach Fobbs is not a great coach. That doesn't mean he hadn't accomplished a lot of things. I just think that the administration at Grambling looked at it and said, you know, it may be time for us to make a change, and they went with their move and made the change.
Hey, let's talk about that. The inconsistency at the president's level at Grambling. I just get to see the sense that with the turnstile in academic administration, it's put the football program behind the 8 ball. Quite frankly, as an outside observer, the question to me is, do they get it? Do they understand what football means, how it's the most important brand of the university, and what they must do to fix it in order for them to remain as Grambling?
I think President Gallo understands. President Gallo is a Grambling guy. I think right now, and football is such an emotional draw and such a big thing for Grambling. It's been their brand. You know, they are the original HBCU football brand, and for the national brand for a lot of people, especially of a certain age. So he gets it. He's a Grambling guy. He literally grew up in Grambling, went to Grambling during the time of Coach Eddie Robinson and Doug Williams. And so he knows the history of Grambling football and understands the importance of it. I think where the disagreement comes in is how they achieve those goals. You know, President Gallo, I think, is going into his 4th year as the president of Grambling, 3rd or 4th year, I'm not quite sure. But he's been there enough time to put his stamp on Grambling. He brought in Travian Scott, who's a former assistant athletic director at Southern, who's now the athletic director at Grambling. And, you know, when change of administration comes in the athletic department, a lot of times like this, a lot of times coaches end up getting fired. And so I think this was a first major salvo in what they're trying to do, but I'm not sure in which direction Grambling is going to go. I've heard a lot of names, I've heard a lot of theories, but I'm not sure what they're going to do. But I think President Gallo gets it now. There's a lot of pushback. A lot of people don't agree with some of the things that the president has done. But it's almost like a civil war. It's an intra, you know, they having an intra.
They're having an inter-family squabble, eh?
Yeah, inter-family squabble, exactly. So that's kind of what's going on right now at Grambling.
Been that way for quite some time. What about over on the southern side? I hear that there are a lot of people who are upset with Coach Rollins. The stories that I get are that he came in wanting to change an offensive philosophy, turning a primarily rush team into a passing team, and the personnel not fitting what the first-year coach wants to do. Meanwhile, in Norfolk, had it not been for a back-to-back game meltdown, former coach Dawson Odoms would have been on his way to the Celebration Bowl. Is there some buyer's remorse in Baton Rouge right now?
No, because people understood what it was, not for the most part. Maybe some people on the peripheral who didn't really understand what was going on. They may say, oh, well, we should have kept Coach Odoms. Well, number one, Coach Odoms left Southern because he wanted to, not because, regardless of what some people have reported, Southern offered him more money than Norfolk State did. He wanted more years, and he had his own personal reasons for leaving Southern. With that being said, people understood that Coach Rollins is an interim coach. He's not the permanent coach. This was an audition for Coach Rollins, and it was because of the situation that Southern was put in when Coach Odoms left. He left in May. It's not like you were going to go hire some coach, hire a coach and bring him in May. No coach worth his salt was going to take the job coming in May. So they named the interim. This was basically Coach Rollins' audition for the job. The audition was up and down. It didn't go well for the most part. And you look at it, you evaluate it as the athletic director, Roman Banks, and you decide whether you want to keep the guy. I think it's pretty much a consensus among the fan base, even though it hasn't been said publicly, that, he probably won't get the job. But he'll finish out as the interim, and Southern will move on.
Last question before I let you go. Will either one of these programs hire a former NFL player, if for no other reason than just the sizzle of it, since they have such a powerful brand in HBCU football?
It's a possibility. Honestly, it's a possibility. I don't think so. I would say it would probably be, knowing the president, the president at Grambling, knowing his personality, it would probably be more likely for Grambling to hire a NFL personality, a former NFL player who would bring some kind of name recognition, than it would be for Southern. But you never know whose name can come up. I've heard several names come up for both jobs. A lot of times I've heard names that people who have connections to both schools come up. So I don't think it's likely that it happens, but it's a definite possibility. I would say 38% possibility and going and rising.
Wow, that number could move. That
Yeah.
sounds like a sure shot right there. Anyway, Reggie Flood, our good friend from New Orleans, keeping it real with us. All right, you get the verbal lower third this time. Where can the people find you at?
They can find me the Locked On HBCU podcast. That's one place you can find me, the national podcast on HBCU sports. We're on a slight hiatus now, but we're coming back very soon. But every day you can find me on the Sports Report on WBOK 1230 AM from 4 to 7 p.m. where we talk pro sports and college sports. And in particular, we talk HBCUs every day. So you can find me there. And then on Saturdays, if you want to tune into the Jaguar Journal, 7 to 9 on Talk 107.3 in Baton Rouge, or you can catch us on the internet anytime from 7 to 9 a.m. on Talk 103 in Baton Rouge.
All right, you got the first hurricane for me tomorrow, Patios, right?
I got you.
All right, I'll see you next week, bro.
All
Reggie
right, have
Flood
a great
checking
one.
in from the Bayou as we roll on throughout the HBCU Sports Nation.
1, 2, 3, hit it! Black Island move. Ride, come on! Black College, stand up! HBCU!
Now, this is how it went down for real last week around the rest of the HBCU Sports Nation. Jimmy Robinson III scored 3 first-half touchdowns as Bethune-Cookman down Grambling State 31-14 in what proved to be Broderick Fobbs' final game as coach of the G-Men. Robinson finished with 98 yards on 15 carries. He helped the Wildcats win for just the second time in as many weeks of the season while handing the Tigers their 3rd consecutive loss. Mississippi Valley State rolled up 496 yards of total offense, forced 3 turnovers, and scored 3 touchdowns from 30-plus yards for its 3rd win of the season and their most points scored since 2018. This team is the first Delta Devil squad to win more than just 2 games in a season since 2012. Florida A&M traveled to Arkansas and took care of business in a 37-7 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Isaiah Land added 3 more sacks to his total, giving him 17, only 3 behind the all-time single-season sack record of 20. This was also the 6th time this season that Rattler defense held the opposition to 7 points or less. Alabama A&M racked up at least 50 points for just the 10th time in their Division I history as they came from behind for a dramatic 52-49 victory at Texas Southern. All-World quarterback Akil Glass passed for 462 yards and 5 touchdowns for Connell Maynard's crew in Rocket City. Alcorn, a 31-29 winner over Prairie View, the Braves putting a dent into the West Division title hopes of the Panthers. Meanwhile, in the MEAC, North Carolina Central rolls up 530 yards of total offense to power pass. Howard at Green Stadium. North Carolina Central's 530 yards are the most yards of offense against a MEAC opponent since 2012, and the 6 rushing touchdowns were the most by the Eagles in more than 20 years. Trey Goss was on the receiving end of a 30-yard touchdown pass from Jared Lewis on 4th and 5 with 1:53 left to go, propelling the Delaware State Hornets to a stunning 28-26 victory over Norfolk State. The loss was a massive blow to the championship hopes of the Spartans. South Carolina State fell to North Carolina A&T 27-17. The Bulldogs led 17-7 early in the third quarter, but A&T scored back-to-back touchdowns to give them a 2017 lead. Kendrell Flowers led all players with 160 rushing yards on 15 attempts with a touchdown. That's how it went down for real. Around Division I in the HBCU Sports Nation last week.
1, 2, 3, hit it! Black out and move. Ride, come on! Black College, stand up! HBCU!
Upon further review, you got to go a long way for a negative quote to come out of the mouth of Coach Prime. But even Deion Sanders had to acknowledge the lunacy of the behaviors of some of his players, which led to a post-game melee at Mumford Stadium and Richardson Field in Baton Rouge. It had been 7 long years since Jackson State had gone into Southern or played Southern and had beaten them. And when you start understanding what black college football truly is, it's truly a battle of the blue bloods. Often known as the Battle of the Big Cats, these two teams have played many, many times, but never before has a team done the unthinkable. Like put a flag in the middle of the field and clown as though you've never won before. Both of these are championship programs in SWAC history, and you can make the compelling argument that a stronger Jackson State makes the Black American national pastime, which is black college football, a stronger product. However, when you got a bunch of Division I transfers who are behaving like opportunists, idiots, to coin Coach Prime's term, they got to be counted out on it. Look, guys, here's the deal. The portal is open. You got an opportunity to get out. But just because you're leaving a PWI institution doesn't mean you get to come down and act like a jackass at an HBCU. Comport yourself with class. This is not a second-class opportunity. Remember, black colleges were found and dollar for dollar have given folks chances that nobody else would. And that, in many cases, is where a lot of guys who are transferring into HBCUs don't understand. It's like a fashionable thing right now for everybody to want to get their piece of the HBCU pie. But what you gonna do with it? Either you choke on it or you grow from it. And nobody grows from a good old-fashioned fight that dwarfs the headlines of the Jackson State comeback to prominence. None of the narrative this week was about Jackson State winning the East Division. None of it was about Jackson State probably hosting the SWAC championship game. It was more about the fight. And this should have been a celebration of sorts in Jackson. Though it wasn't a conference championship, it was still a division title. But it won't be remembered for that. It'll be remembered for the, quote, idiots who decided they wanted to plant a flag at the 50-yard line. I'll just put it to you like this. That's something Baker does representing for Oklahoma when they knock off Ohio State. But you would have never seen, say, an Alcorn led by the greatness of Steve McNair, who would beat Jackson and then plant a flag on the 50-yard line back in the day. So you guys who are transferring into HBCUs from PWIs, remember that before you cross over and sign the dotted line. That's what's under further review this week. Until next week, remember, the car is gassed up, the fridge is full, and we're hitting the road for the HBCU Sports Nation. Hey, look, we're on our way to New Orleans, y'all. Hey, Deanies, I'm coming. See you down there next week, right here on the HBCU Sports Nation.